And good evening, and welcome to the Countdown to Paris 2024. I'm your host, Earl Basden. This evening, we are joined by the chef de mission of the Pan American Games team that recently concluded in Julia Hawley. We are also joined by Emma, I'm sorry, yeah, Emma Harvey, Erica Hawley, and Connor White. We're hoping that Tyler Smith joins us at some point in time this evening. But we want to, before we move on to the next big stage, which is the Olympics in Paris in 2024, we just want to reflect on the Santiago Games that just recently concluded in Chile. So, Julia, I want you to start because as the chef, having the athlete and spread out over miles and miles of ground to cover for a chef, take us through the experience that you had in this particular trip because of the distance having to travel to see athletes in different competitions.
Yeah, so I mean, this is typical of major games now where you're seeing locations that are quite far removed from each other for athletes and competitions. So we had most of the core sports were in Santiago itself, in the city. And then there was other locations that were at least 90 minutes away for the sailing and for the triathlon. I mean, even the cycling, the time trial was, an hour from Santiago, even though it was in Santiago. So, it's just the way it is now. That's just the way the games are run. Um, I think in terms of like just the logistics for me and for the team, I mean, that's my job, is to make sure that the logistics were as seamless and easy as possible for all of the athletes. And I really wanted them to make sure that they just focused on, on their events. Hopefully I did a good job at that. I think just if I, summarize the performances of the athletes, I mean, they were amazing overall for our team. So hopefully, we removed as many stresses as possible for in terms of the games. But yeah, in terms of just driving and getting people to where they had to be, it was challenging and very time consuming, but we were very fortunate to have two vehicles assigned to us and amazing drivers. And because we're a small team, we had the luxury of being able to use our car to ferry people around as opposed to relying on the buses. So we were quite fortunate from that perspective.
Hmm. Let me jump right to Emma because they jumped right in right away. Emma, looking at um, your performance overall, how would you sum it up now that you've had time to let it sink in, reflect on national records and the like? Sum up your performances at the Pan American Games.
Yeah, I would definitely say, kind of reflecting back on it, perhaps a little surprising. Um, kind of as I was mentioning to you, Earl, at the games, this is a super unique time to have a major festival. So it's kind of coming in with not that many expectations. And I was really pleased and kind of being able to look back and reflect to the past 2 weeks. I kind of, at the time, I was really just trying to enjoy myself and really just soak in the experience. And now that I've had the time to train again and, really reflect, I'm just really proud of myself. And it's definitely given me a lot of confidence kind of going into the future competitions and going into training every day. And yeah, overall, I'm super, super happy. And yeah, if I had to sum up in one word, I'd probably say surprising.
Yeah. Um, do you think the atmosphere there also assisted you in getting in the pool early, getting a couple of warm up days in, and just the conditions in Chile helped you reach the goals you reached?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I think overall this games was very smooth. I mean, big thanks to Julia for putting together, you know, so many things for us and making our life so easy while we were there. And I think, as much as we say, even the worst, it definitely helps when everything goes smoothly. So kind of being able to come in and, just be able to go to the pool every day and training and everything was kind of very smooth. That really helped a lot. That definitely contributed to me being able to perform the way I did for sure.
Sure. And Connor, I'm going to jump to you now because you've had what I would consider a remarkable year in cycling. Um, Looking at the performances that you've had leading up to the Pan Am Games, do you think those set you right up for the performance you had in both the road race and the time trial? The time trial was where you done well, but the road race is where time trial is where you got the medal, and the road race, you really done well as well. But do you think this the year you had set you up for this performance?
Yeah, I mean, I started the year not knowing if I'd be going to Pan Am Games. So I had a pretty major target in April of qualifying at the Pan Am Championships. And Caden and I both did that in the time trial in April. So once I knew that I'd qualified a spot, I focused a lot of my training towards time trial specifically because we had CAC games, Caribbean championships, also national championships. So I had a lot of major time trials this year, and each event that I did, I just kept building on it, like fitness wise as well as confidence. Because after ending up on the podium in CAC games, the same guy that won Pan Am's was also on the podium at CAC. So I knew how I could do if I had a good ride. So yeah, and then also having Caribbean Championships the week before, where Kate and Nick and I all had really good time trials, really some of our best performances in the Caribbean TTs. I think that all just led up to a really good performance, really good legs on the day, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, looking at the time trial um, on the day in Chile, weather conditions were favorable. I mean, it was nice and sunny, but a little chill in the air. Do you think that kind of assisted you? You've been training and competing in some high altitudes, and just being in an environment where you can possibly breathe the best and be able to stretch your legs out. Did you think that was a key factor as well?
Yeah, definitely the cooler climate was a big advantage, or I mean, it was an advantage for everyone, but it was a big difference compared to the majority of the races that I have done overseas this year. Because Panama was 90 plus degrees, El Salvador was 90 plus degrees, Guadalupe was 90 plus degrees. So doing a time trial in that temperature, you're on the limit, and like it's all about, like, once your body temperature gets too high, your performance goes down so much. So yeah, being able to have 65 degrees in Chile was a lot easier to regulate that, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, and it wasn't so much strain on like your heart and your lungs. It was more placed on the legs and how much power you could produce. And me being a bigger rider, I can produce a lot of power. So it was definitely yeah, in my favor. I mean, it was in everyone's favor, but I do prefer the cooler races, and it was nice to finally have a race that wasn't blisteringly hot.
Yeah. And now to Erica. Erica, clearly you finished the season off. Um, um, how would I put this? In unexplainable positions. I've seen you grow in this sport, but heading to Chile. Your expectations now that you've completed the two races in Chile. Did did you meet your expectations, or were you way ahead of what you thought you could do in Chile?
Um, yeah, I definitely exceeded my expectations, I would say. I think in the back of my mind, I said like top five would be really good at the Pan Am Games. But I race like all of these girls pretty regularly, and I had raced in Brasilia a month before, and I came 16th. So I didn't really want to put too much pressure on myself placing wise. I mean, it was one of those days where I had beaten people who I'd never beaten before, and they had consistently been beating me. So I think that just like showed I kind of had like a really good performance. But at the same time, it was definitely like like not like a long time coming, but
Mhm.
I had like been training really well, and I have had some like really good performances throughout the year. So I like kind of was like, if I have the right day. And yeah, so I raced at the Pan Am Games. Then a week later, I raced again in a World Cup on the same course. And I also had a really good race. So yeah, it just kind of, yeah, I don't know. For me, I'm getting more validation that it's like, that's just where I am as an athlete now. Like, it's not just like a one-time performance. This is just where I am. And that's like something that I've processed in the couple days since I've been home. And that's like a really great feeling.
Mm. One of the things, watching you over the years, is liking a performance when I could see it in your face, even while you're riding the bike, you feel like you feel good, and I get it from a lot of you athletes, watching you grow and stuff. I can almost sense when you feel like, okay, I'm having a good day kind of thing. When did you feel really, really comfortable in the position you were in during the Pan Am Games, especially on the ride? When did you feel comfortable enough to say, you know what, I belong in this group?
I mean, once our group, I guess we finished, I'm trying to even think how the race played out, but I feel like once the race actually, like the pack all gets together and is settled, probably on the second lap. But at that point, I feel like in triathlon, you get to a point on the bike where there's less like movement. I mean, there's always a chance. I mean, there was definitely a few people that rode up to our pack and whatnot, but it kind of gets like solidified and you're like, okay, this is like the main group, or like, this is the chase group. So on the bike, I mean, all the contenders were in there. All I knew is there was one athlete like way ahead. So I was like, okay, this is where I want to be. But I definitely on the bike didn't think, oh, like this is my day or anything like that. It was actually like T2. I started the run and I felt amazing. And I feel like I haven't had that in an Olympic, and I don't know what the maybe what the secret was to that. But yeah, I started the run and I was like, have I got out too hard? Because I'm like in a good position and I feel super strong. And I kind of held fourth, I guess fifth for most of the race.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was the last lap, I had seen one of the girls was slowly getting caught, and I eventually passed her. And then I was in fourth, and I think the gaps were pretty big, so I felt pretty secure in that position. But yeah, I definitely didn't really soak it up until the very end. I think every racer has that fear of like, you can't really like quantify how far apart the gaps are. You're like, oh gosh, that looks like 2 seconds, but it could be like 30 seconds. So yeah, it's only really when you're at the end where you're like, okay, they're not right behind me. I can maybe enjoy this and not keep sprinting.
Yeah. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our first commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about the day of the races and how you prepared and the outcomes. We'll be right back.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this? John Barrett & Son is bringing us something fresh and exciting for the new year. Buy Antioxidant Infusion Beverage. Vi delivers the natural antioxidant benefits of the coffee fruit in glorious combination with a variety of exotic fruit flavors, with only 1 gram of sugar and 10 calories per bottle. The folks at Vi are inviting us on a world tour through these amazing flavors. Brasilia blueberry, Zambia Bing cherry, Costa Rica clementine, Malawi mango, Panama peach, Ipanema pomegranate, Kupang strawberry kiwi, and more. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
And welcome back. We'll start with you, Connor. Let's talk the time trial day. Quite a distance to get to the race and so forth. So how did you prepare the night before and the morning of the race for the race, not knowing all the conditions?
Yeah, so the day before the race we drove out there and did a pre-ride on the course. They supposedly had it closed off for the most part. There was still some traffic, so we could see the course at similar speeds to what we would be doing in the race. But yeah, we went out, checked out the course, just looked to see what lines were the best through corners, all like just stuff like that. And then the night before, we just got all of our gear ready, made sure our bikes were working well. And then weather-wise, we kind of knew what the weather would be like. We looked at the forecast. We knew the wind direction, wind speed, forecast temperature. So we knew about what the weather was going to be like. And then, just went to bed early, had a good meal, woke up the next morning, had a big breakfast because we raced at 1:00. And then, just had a nice slow morning the morning of, didn't put any stress on ourselves. And it was pretty easy preparation. Peter made it very easy for us, helping us out, taking us to the race course the day before, helping us get our bikes ready, get them on the car, and it was pretty easy.
And having Connor, Caden with you, you two have been riding together for quite some time, but just having him there, how was that? How does that work out for you guys?
It was great having him there for the entire 2 weeks. We've grown up together. We rode together even before we started getting into road cycling. We started in the mountain bikes together. So, we're really good friends, and we're also competitors on the bike. So it was cool to be there with him. And he also had a phenomenal TT. He was in fifth place, not that far behind me. So
Right.
he could have easily ended up on the podium if one of us had a slightly worse day, or he had an amazing day. But it was very close. So it was great to have him there.
Yeah, and being on that podium, now that you've had time to reflect on it, take us through, because it took a while for that ceremony to get started. But once it did get started, take us through the emotion of 2 weeks earlier you had won the Caribbean championship medal, but this is a Pan Am Games medal. So take us through that emotion.
Caribbean Championships was a real, basically, I guess you could say, test event the week before to see how the legs were doing. Once I knew once I had started 20 minutes and I was going to be on a good day, because the power that I was doing in this TT in Chile was similar to what I was doing in Guadeloupe, but I felt 10 times better. Yeah, I mean, I finished, and I mean, you were there. I was finished. I was in second, and then the Olympic champion on the road came through, like 40 seconds out of me. So I was in third, and there was one guy left, and I had only beaten him by 10 seconds at CAC games, so I knew it would be close. And I didn't know what his first lap time was, so I didn't know where he was on the course or anything. And then when I kept refreshing
Yeah.
you guys' phone, and then once I'd seen that he came in sixth, I think, then I realized that I was on the podium, and it was amazing. It was pretty cool. And then immediately went over to Caden, congratulated him because he had finished fifth, and then I didn't really know what to do. I was just riding around trying. But yeah, it was cool. Really cool.
Yeah, I saw it in the face. Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Emma, let's talk a little bit about what how. No, you guys swam a lot in the morning and then in the evening as well. So take us through preparation for morning heats, and then what you do in the middle of the day to get ready for those finals, because the travel distance time and all of that has to be measured just about right, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, definitely these big meets, all the details really matter. You don't necessarily want to be spending any more time at the pool than you have to be. You really want to be prioritizing your rest and your recovery. So yeah, it was kind of just about managing, day to day. So I swam for 6 sessions, so morning and night for 3 days. So it's really about kind of managing your energy across those 3 days, making sure you eat enough, kind of making sure you're warming down a lot. Warming down is one of those things that at the time you definitely don't want to do, is jump right back into the pool after the race. But it definitely helps, over the sessions. You definitely helps with the fatigue, and I think that kind of focusing on those details is something that really helped me a lot. And really being able to stay focused across the 3 days. It's really easy after the first morning session to be like, oh well, I had a good race, a bad race, or whatever, and kind of zone out for the rest of the meet. But I really tried to stay focused and kind of stick to my race plans. And I think for the most part, I was able to execute the way I wanted to. So I was really happy.
And having to do it 3 days in a row, how difficult is it to stay focused over that period of time?
I think compared to some of the meets I've done in the past, I think I found it almost a little bit easier here because the atmosphere was so good. And when you're surrounded by some of the best athletes in the world, I think it's really easy to kind of focus in. When you're warming up and next to you is the Olympic gold medalist or the world record holder, it's a lot easier to be like, wow, okay, I've worked so hard to get here. I'm not going to throw it away at the last minute because I don't feel like warming down, or I don't feel like having as much food as I feel like I need. And, all those kind of details really matter. So, I think this meet definitely kind of reminded me that, okay, you can really do this. And it just, when you're actually at these meets, just stay focused and make sure you don't, get caught up in everything else around you, because that's also definitely really easy to do as well at these big meets.
Sure. And Erica, for you, having to go first, what was your night before like, and then the morning of going into a race at 9 o'clock?
Yeah. So for me, I actually had ridden this course last year. Oh, that's a terrible photo, Earl.
That's when you were by yourself.
You didn't want to be at the finish line where I'm like happy and
No, I've used that one enough. But I got this one for you. How's this one?
Okay, that's better. Mom will be mad, but
how's that one?
That's better. Okay, maybe that's how I looked, but I didn't feel that way. Okay. My preparation. Yeah, I mean, since it's like you were in a hotel and I guess like village bubble situation, I mean, it's pretty easy. You eat there for all your meals, so that made like the night before really chill. The one difference compared to normal racing is you put your bike in the day before. So Tyler Butterfield was super great with all of that. I mean, he did all the kind of work, so we didn't have to be in our feet and walking. I mean, it's not far. It's like 2K, but it's just another moving piece of like, oh, I have to drop my bike off and then I have to run back, and that might not be my routine. He was able to like take a lot of that load. In the morning of, I mean, I set my alarm for 7, so it really wasn't anything too crazy. The race started at 10. Like just ran over to the course. Did kind of my normal routine. I mean, since it was cold, I mean, the water was 13 degrees Celsius, so it was definitely chilly, and the air temp was chilly. So I knew I had to do like a longer warm up than what I might normally do, but still, I mean, it was like a 15-minute run, and I got in the water for like 5 minutes to kind of get that chill initially over with, because it was definitely pretty biting. I mean, I felt like I was really relaxed. One thing that I feel like I've, as I've been in the sport longer, for me anyway, there you go. I've gotten to know a lot of the men and women on the start list, and we're all staying at the same hotel. And for me, it was a very relaxed atmosphere because I had known a lot of the people. So that was definitely like, it didn't feel intimidating, because I have raced against them. And I think that's just something, that experience and time in the sport that has actually made a big difference now.
Mm-hmm. And Julia, for you as the chef, I know a lot of the day of stuff goes down to the coaches and the managers of these athletes, but your job is to also ensure that they have everything they need and so forth. So just looking at the performances, as you sat and watched each one of these 3 right here and all the other athletes perform, what goes through your mind as as the races are going on, some longer than the others?
Yeah, I mean, maybe just to summarize, because we haven't done that yet, but like the performances overall for our Pan Am Games team were really spectacular this time. And just in summary, I mean, we had a medal, okay? We had a bronze medal in cycling. We had 2 national records in swimming. We had an outright Olympic qualification spot in sailing. And we had 5 athletes in the top 8 in the results. And we only had 11 athletes, okay? So, I mean, just in terms of overall, like, I don't think, I think that's one of the best performances overall as a team that we've probably ever had. I mean, to win a medal is quite amazing at this level. The Pan Am Games is only just that rung underneath the Olympic Games. And so I think the results overall were I was just so proud of everyone, all 11 athletes. And for me, you just want, by the time you get to the actual events, you really just want to see your athletes have the best performance on the day for them, because I know, we all know how hard they've worked to get to this point. I mean, anyone that came was competing at Pan Am Games had to qualify for the event. And there are international standards that are set. It's not easy to qualify for the Pan Am Games. So the amount of work and effort just to get to the Pan Am Games is quite amazing. And then when you see the results that we had, you just want everyone to have the best day possible for them. And I think for me, it was just the most rewarding experience. It was a lot of work, but it was just so rewarding to see all that and these amazing athletes and ambassadors for Bermuda.
Yeah, and from the BOA standpoint, Julia, it must be encouraging because we've seen athletes grow over the last, I would say, 12 years. We've seen more and more of our athletes get on not only on podiums but national records at these major festivals, but by given the opportunity to compete against these world-class competitors, because they're world-class as well. They belong there. Each and every one of them proved that they belong there. So from the BOA standpoint, there must be a lot of smiles going on around there that they're heading in the right direction.
Oh, definitely. And this is not just happened by chance. I mean, we've invested in our athletes quite heavily in the last sort of 5 years or so. And now we're seeing, if you look at the team that was at Santiago, they were very young. They're all kind of hitting their stride. I think our oldest athlete was 25, maybe. It was probably the two triathletes, or possibly, Dej was probably a little bit older, but essentially a very young team. And they've been afforded a lot of the, opportunities that we've provided and increased to the athletes so that they can do, and they have the resources to do the things that they have to do. When you're competing against the best in the world, that's what you need.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take our second commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more with our athletes who performed at the Santiago 2023 Pan American Games. We'll be right back.
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Joker's putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
Here's one of our favorite feature brands, true veterans of the food awareness movement. Bob's Red Mill, the U.S. leading miller of organic whole grain foods. Only whole grains have the entire value developed during growth. And once you try them, you know that this is the way food was intended to be. Try Bob's Red Mill blanched almond, whole wheat pastry, and artisan bread flours, and 1-to-1 gluten-free baking flour, unsweetened shredded coconut, gluten-free homemade wonderful bread mix, and a variety of rolled oats. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. Well, we all know that it's less than 1 year away from the Olympics in Paris. Erica, I'm going to start with you because you've made a significant leap up the standings in triathlon. Now you ranked 65th in the points for the Olympics. So let's talk a little bit about what's left for you to do to reach that goal of qualifying for the Olympics. Do you know what's in the cards for you for next year? What do you have to do to not only improve that ranking but to solidify a spot?
Yeah, so funnily enough, the race schedule just came out this morning, the final race schedule, I think. But I have kind of been keeping the reins on not getting too excited and planning anything right now, as it's my off season, which I don't get very often. So I kind of had a glance at it, but again, it's probably going to be a lot of traveling. So for me to qualify, we have to qualify 2 spots. And based on the, it's your kind of best 12 races, and this, I guess, year from May 2023 to May 2024, I put 6 races forward. And honestly, I'm happy with all of those races. I've got pretty good points at all of them. So for me, I kind of need 2 more good point scoring races next year, because I can kind of divvy it up as 4 in my first year and 8 in my second year. So my goal is to get at least two to three good point scoring races next year, which for me, it's actually kind of nice. Just I feel a little bit less pressure because I didn't, I might be I could have been entering, off season and next year being like, oh, I need to put like 5 good races forward, which that's pretty unlikely considering it ends in the end of May. That would be really hard to do. So for me, I'm kind of like, okay, if I really pick the right races and target them, then I think that will be the best way to do it. But as of now, I'm in the Olympics simulation. So if it was to happen tomorrow, I would be on the start list, which is a very cool feeling. And my first time actually being on the simulation after my race, my World Cup result. So that's definitely exciting, but also fuel for fire because it's still really close between a lot of us athletes. But yeah, I mean, in a really good position right now. And yeah, I just hope to build on it next year. Yeah.
Well, you got people rooting for you. Trust me, rooting for you.
Thank you. I know, I feel it, to be honest. Like, yeah, the support this year has been really unreal. So yeah.
Emma, let's jump to you because you weren't far off an Olympic qualifying spot in the Pan Am Games, but where are you situated, and what is the plan for next year to try and qualify a spot for the Olympics?
Yeah, I mean, was mentioned before, really happy with my Pan Am results. I wasn't necessarily expecting to get as close as I did to the qualifying time. So to, within half a second is, I feel kind of like Erica said, I feel like you're right on the edge, which is a really kind of motivating place to be in because you can almost taste it. So that's really, really exciting for me. And, I'm still at Penn State training, which has been really amazing, kind of keeping that consistency from the past few years. And, the really great thing about swimming is that there's so many chances to kind of hit the qualifying time. You could theoretically race every single weekend if you wanted to. Not that would probably be the recommended strategy, but, that's kind of the really cool feeling that at any meet I go to in the next 8 months could be the time where, I end up hitting the qualifying time. So at this point, I feel really confident and just also, as Erica said, super grateful for all of the support. I mean, swimming has definitely been a very long journey for me. So it's really kind of cool to be at this point in my career where 2 years ago, there's no way I ever thought that I'd kind of be where I am now. So I'm just trying to soak it all in and, again, just appreciate everyone who's around me and all the support I'm getting because it definitely makes a huge, huge difference.
Sure. Have you sat down with coaches, your coaches, to plan out the next few months on what needs to be done to erase that deficit?
Oh, for sure. I'm going to a decently big competition in 3 weeks in the U.S. So that will serve as a qualifying opportunity, and then followed by Worlds in February. So those are kind of my next 3 big chances, and then hopefully if everything goes to plan by February, I'll have the qualifying time. Will, mean that I'll just sort of be training and continuing on to race just to keep trying to get faster. But kind of after February is when I'll really sit down and kind of yes, great, I'll go down this path, or no, I'm still chasing the time, then I'll go down this path. I'm kind of going to really decide after February where the
Okay, all right. And Connor, yours is a little different, but what's the plan? How does this work for cycling?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think there is any way for us to get there anymore for at least next year. There was a wild card spot available at the Pan Am Continental Championships in April, and there was only one spot, and you had to win the road race, which was a very tall order. And obviously we didn't get that, but we still had really good performances there. And then other than that, it's just based off of rankings. country ranking, and in order to qualify one spot, you have to be top 45 countries in the world. And I think based off of all the results we've gotten this year, I think we got up as far as 58th, which is pretty good for we're only four guys, or me, Liam, Nick, and Caden are qualifying points for Bermuda. So to get to 58th, it's only four guys. Like, we're going up against France, Netherlands, who have hundreds of riders. But in order to get to 45th, we would need almost twice as many points as we got this year. And even then, if we were top 45, we'd only qualify one spot. And then, so it's pretty tough to go for road cycling. They also cut the quota down to 90 riders from 130 at the last games. So yeah, Paris 2024, you won't see us there, but who knows? Maybe Los Angeles in 2028 we'll be able to get there.
Let me just say, don't ever give up hope, because one thing about the Olympic movement, they're always talking about having as many different countries represented in each sport. So never give up hope. Julia could be in a meeting next week fighting for that one spot. If we could get one spot, we could get one spot. So anything's possible. Not only Julia, but Peter and the rest of the BOAP. I mean, if that's their calling, if they want representation, then hey, why not offer it to those countries who only have 4 going up against 100?
Yeah, it would be pretty amazing to get one spot, but yeah, I guess we shall see.
My fingers are crossed. Trust me, my fingers are crossed. But Julia, from the BOA standpoint, just knowing what these athletes needed to do to increase the opportunity for them to advance to the Olympics, and actually seeing them achieve some of the goals they wanted to, how does that go through the BOA itself? I know you probably haven't had a chance for you guys to sit down and discuss it, but I'm pretty sure there's been some discussion about where these athletes are and what needs to be done for them for next year to qualify for the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Pan Am Games is a major opportunity for all of the athletes. I think for all of our sports, there was some kind of Olympic impact, whether it was points or, in the case of sailing, I mean, we got our first qualified spot, which was incredible. So we already have one person, I mean, outright, or one country spot, I should say,
Yes.
A female sailing spot. And then, in triathlon, they had the points. They got points for the Olympic qualification period. Emma's got closer. So everyone, that was at the Pan Am Games, there was these opportunities, and it was just another step, though. It's not like it's a one-off and that's it. These are just steps, and there's going to be more steps, as they've all alluded to, over the next 4, 5, 6 months. And we support our athletes as much as possible through the various grants that we have available to us at the BOA, through Pan Am Sport itself, through the IOC. And so, yeah, we do everything we can, and youth and sport as well, I should add. So we do everything we can to make sure that they get everything they need. 10 of the 11 athletes, I think, are based overseas, training, living, racing, and even the one other athlete is partially overseas. Recognize that's important, and that's obviously costly as well. So, they're given all these opportunities and resources to help ensure that we get as many people qualified as possible. And we're confident that we're going to have, a bigger team, certainly, than Tokyo, going to the Olympic Games. And many of our athletes are on that trajectory, and we would expect it, honestly, over the next 6 months. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, we're going to take our final commercial break, but when we come back, I'm going to ask each of you, what was your most memorable moment competing and off the competition? Okay? We'll be right back.
It seems everyone knows someone who's lactose intolerant or just avoiding dairy products. And fortunately, there's a growing array of delicious and nutritious alternatives. Pacific Natural Foods have been doing things their own way simply and sustainably for over a quarter century, making non-dairy beverages with the finest possible ingredients right down to the packaging. Try Pacific Natural Original and Vanilla Hemp Milk and Almond Original Plant-Based Beverage, all sweetened or unsweetened, and low-sodium organic vegetable or chicken broth. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for.
Turkish putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
And welcome back. Well, we'll start in the order in which you're on my screen. So, Erica, you are first. Your most memorable moment while you were competing and when you were out of competition in Chile.
All right. In competition, definitely down the finish straight. It was really amazing having both of my parents there. Obviously, my mom was there working. But as I've gotten older, my family are kind of coming less to my races. But they were there with me last Pan Am Games, and they were there with me at this one. And it was, a really great moment. I mean, all of Team Bermuda in the stands was pretty cool. They were being loud and carrying me to the finish. So that was definitely the highlight. And then off competition, it was getting chosen to be flag bearer for the closing ceremonies. That was a very cool opportunity. And I would confidently say that Tyler and I would both agree that would be our most memorable moment outside of the race. A huge honor. And the closing was very cool. And carrying the flag in that capacity was an honor.
Sure. Julia, I'm going to save you for last. So, Emma, you're up.
Yeah, I think the most memorable moment for competition for me was probably after the 100 back heat, kind of going over to the results table and watching, the rest of the heats go off and realizing that I'd made the A final. That was probably my most memorable moment, just because it's excitement, really, all these emotions, and I was just so happy. I think that was probably one of the most memorable moments in my career in general, not just at Pan Am Games. So that was definitely a really special moment. And to echo Erica as well, definitely the flag bearer was a really just incredible experience. I mean, representing your country at a games like this is truly special. So on top of that, to be flag bearer was just an incredible experience. And I can't almost describe the feeling of walking out holding your flag, with the stadium completely full, and especially in such an amazing location as Santiago. That was something truly special. And again, probably one of my top memories in the sport. Just from these games.
Sure. Connor?
Well, I got two in races because I had two different races. So I'll say for the TT was definitely walking out on that podium. That photo there. yeah, you can't really see behind the camera, but I mean, you're behind the lens. But the amount of people on the sides of the road, climbing the fences, asking for autographs, asking for photos. Like it took Caden and I probably 30 minutes to get back to the car.
Right.
Because every time someone asked for a photo, there was another person, and yeah, it was pretty insane. So yeah, that was definitely for the time trial the most memorable moment. And then for the road race, I think maybe with like 2 or 3 laps to go on the climb, at one point you couldn't even see the road. There were so many people lined up in the middle of the street, like, and they would only part way like last minute, and you were
Right.
just hoping that they would get out the way. There were people lighting flares, flags in your face, people screaming in your ears. Like you couldn't hear yourself think, it was so loud. So that was pretty special. And then yeah, off the bike or out of the racing would definitely be flag bearer as well. Emma and I both got to do that for the opening ceremony, and I think we both can confidently say that was pretty special to be able to walk out into that stadium and fly the flag in front of 65,000 people, and then however many people watching on TV. So yeah, it was a very special event.
And Julia, as the chef, you weren't in competition, but you felt like you was in competition.
Yeah, I mean, I would echo what Connor said. I mean, if I had to pick one moment, it would be the medal, because to win a medal and be part of a country that wins a medal is just an amazing feeling of pride. And I think, but I also think that every event was just incredible because, again, as Connor was saying, the crowds and the atmosphere at these games was just amazing, and we're part of it, you know, and seeing the kids get asked for autographs, and you know, there was just incredible. All the crowds were just awesome, and they just wanted to, you know, see all these amazing athletes, and we were all part of that. So that was for the competition. I think for outside of the competition for me was the very first kind of event that I was at, which was the welcome ceremony where they actually raised the Bermuda flag. And, you know, we all know how difficult that was to get to that point, all the trouble that we faced potentially to not have a flag raised. And there was a country there that was in that position. So for me, seeing our Bermuda flag raised there at the welcome ceremony was just, it was such a happy, amazing, you know, moment that sort of set the tone for the rest of the game. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I want to wish everyone all the best in the upcoming months because there's still a lot of work to be done. We all dream of having that opportunity of once being in an Olympic at least once, twice, maybe 3 times, but we're going to get there the first time. And for Erica and Emma, you know what you have to do for next year. Connor, we got to get some more guys out here on these bikes to increase the numbers, to give you guys an opportunity to raise up to that 45th position, if not 44th, to guarantee yourself in. So, you know, there's a lot of work to be done, both on and off the field, the pool, the track, wherever. And Julia, for the Bermuda Olympic Association, obviously continue to do what you're doing behind the scenes to push the athletes to offer them as many opportunities as possible. You know, with the assistance of you've already named it, Pan Am Sports, IOC, Youth and Sport, the government, just making sure that they have the funding needed to prepare, because I think it's important that if they have the funds to prepare, that they can arrive and not have to worry about anything. You know, we do things a little different here. We sort of reward you for after you win, as opposed to helping you get to that point. So yeah, again, all the best. We know what you got to do. Enjoy your time, your time off. Enjoy your Christmas. I don't see you or hear from you before then, but come January, it's all hands on deck, back to the business at hand. Okay.
Thanks, Earl. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Enjoy.
Bye,
Have a good
everybody.
night.
Bye.
Bye.